Hi everyone, I'm here with another crochet tutorial for you all, and this one's a little thematic. This is going to be a Valentine's coffee mug cozy. Pardon my chicken scratch on this sheet here, I was working out the pattern. But it's a little cozy that's going to go around your coffee mug, and it's got a Valentine heart on it. I'll show you how to make it. It's pretty simple, and like I said, this is going back to some more basic stuff. So you'll need your coffee mug, because you want to make sure it'll fit fairly well and it's not going to be too big, too small. This one's about average size. You'll need 2 colors of yarn. I've chosen gray and red for mine. 1 color for the majority of your cozy, just like that, and the other color for your heart. And of course, your ever trusty crochet hook. I am using size G, which is about 4 millimeters. And depending on the hook you use, you might have to do more stitches, and just depending on your coffee mug as well. But this is going to be the basic pattern here for you. So like I said, we're going to start with some super crochet basics. You'll want your first color, which is my gray here. And we're going to start with a slip stitch. I'm going to hold, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to hold the tail of my yarn in my left hand, wrap it around, the rest of it around my fingers, and put the rest of it into the middle here, and just pull on the tail so it makes a loop with a knot. It's called a slip knot. So now I've got my loop, I'm going to put my hook into this loop, just like that. Whoops, I gotta go the other way. There we go, and if I pull on my tail, or actually if I pull on my tail, it's going to tighten my knot. But if I pull on the other side, it'll tighten the loop, and that's what we want. So now I've got my slip stitch on my hook, and we're going to start with some chains. I'm going to do, what did I say? I'm going to do 36 chains, and that'll just be a good starting length. So a chain is yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm going to pause here for a second and say that you'll want to keep even pressure on it so your chains look a little uniform. If they're just slightly bigger, some are slightly bigger than others, that's okay. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Now if you'll notice, I'll go ahead and show you. So I've got my length of chain here. Now if you'll notice, I'll put it up against my coffee mug. Whoops. I'll wrap it around to see how far around it'll go. And you'll notice it won't go around all the way. Let me try that again. Let me try showing that to you better. It won't go around all the way unless I really stretch it. That is perfectly fine. We actually don't want it to go all the way around, because we'll have a button that will attach to one end of it, and we'll just have a loop that goes around the back of the handle and around the button. So I'll put that back aside for now, and we'll get to that later on. So that is our chaining row, and so I'll put my hook back in here. So I was going this way, okay? And now we'll start in the second chain from the hook. So we'll want to skip this last chain and go into the next one. You'll know, I'll show you the difference here. So each of these, each of these little V's is a chain. So there's one here, one here, one here. Each one of those is a stitch. So I want to start in the second chain from the hook. So not this first one, but this one right here. I'm going to go under that first part of it, Then I want to go under this second top part. So you'll see it looks like I've got 2 parts on top and 1 part on the bottom. This part's a little tricky, especially if you're crocheting for the first time. It's hard to keep track of them, but if you do it right, your chains should be flat on top and you should have like a little bump on the bottom. You'll go under the 2 flat parts and over the bump part. So we're going to start with doing single crochets. I'm going to crochet 1, so yarn over, pull through the piece that I went into. So I've got 2 loops on my hook, and then we'll yarn over and pull through both of those, just like that. We'll do 1 solid row of gray here. So I'll go into the next chain, I'll go under that part and then under the next. It's easier for me to go under one than the other. Yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through. And actually, rather than doing just 1 solid row of gray, I'm just gonna jump right into the pattern here. So we'll wanna do 17 of these gray stitches. What's nice about going back to basics in this video is that I show you some basic stitches, starting with chains and doing a flat piece, and then later on I'm also going to show you how to change colors, especially for a project like this. This is the long part for me, is trying to work into that starting chain. I'll do a couple more and then I'll do more off camera because it'll go a little faster for you that way. There we go. Yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through. And I haven't been counting, but you see again, there's more V's, so each one of these is a stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm on number 6. I'll do a couple more for you. So again, under these 2, over that one. That's number 7. Mm. 8 and 9, and then I'll go ahead and do the rest of my 17 off camera. So go ahead and pause because I'm going to jump ahead here. There we go. Okay, I've done 16 of those 17 stitches because then we're going to change colors on you. So I'll go ahead and go back and count just to make sure. Again, counting the top. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I need 1 more, but here's where I'm going to change colors. So I'll do this last 17th stitch here with you. So I'm going to go in and do my, like I'm normally going to do my stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull up, but rather than completing the stitch by yarning over and pulling through, I'm actually going to switch to my red. Let me get my red out here. There we go. Start my red. And here's where your yarn might start getting a little tangled, which is fine, that happens. So I'm going to go down my length of red a little ways. I'm going to yarn over, grab it with my hook, and pull it through just like that. So I'm using the red to finish that stitch. I'm going to leave my tail right there. I'm going to hold on. See, this is where it gets a little tricky because you want to hold on to both. So my tail is, the tail of the red is in my hand, and so is the rest of the gray. Now we're gonna do one stitch in red, but then we're gonna stitch and go switch right back to gray. So I'm gonna go in like I'm gonna do a stitch. And I'm actually, the red that I'm using for the stitching is in my hand up here. The rest is down here. What I'm actually wanting to do is after my hook is in that chain there, I want to make sure the tails are over top as well. So I've got the rest of the chain and then these tails underneath. I'm going to yarn over with the red that's on top and pull it up through the chain, just like so. And because I only want the one stitch, I'm going to drop the red that's in my hand and grab the gray and grab that with my yarn and pull through. So I've got one red stitch right there. And then I'll go through the rest of the chain. I should have 17 stitches left total. So again, I'm going to keep these kind of in my hand, those two red bits. I'm going to go into the next chain here. There we go. And I'll go ahead just to help anchor these right here. I'll do what I did before. I'll make sure those are on top of my hook. When I yarn over with the gray, pull the gray up, and then yarn over, pull through. That's going to help anchor those there, and then I'm just going to drop them completely. Okay, and then I'll just keep going. So that was one gray stitch. It's going to look a little weird, but we'll get it. Oops. See, this has always been the tougher part for me, is working into that starting chain. That's why I don't do flat pieces as much. There we go. So yep, those you'll see have just kind of dropped behind, and the front looks nice and neat. And again, you'll want to make sure you're still going under the two pieces of that top V, under those two, but over that one on the bottom. Just like that. Yarn over, pull up. Yarn over, pull through both. Yarn over, pull up. Yarn over, pull through both. Okay, I'm going to try to speed up a little bit more, as much as I can. Get some more of this gray out. There we go. Go. Okay, so now I've got a few of those done. I've got a few more to go. And I'll be sure to double count them once I get to the end. Got just 3 more. And last one. You'll see I've got 1 more and then my knot. You don't want to work in the knot, you just want to do the last one right here. There we go. So we've got our knot right there, and then our tail, will actually hide our tail at the very, very end. I'll show you how to do that when we get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my hook out and hold on to it. So if you straighten it out, it'll twist around like this. That's perfectly normal. So if you straighten it out, you should have 17 gray, 1 red, and another 17 gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Perfect. Okay. So now we gotta turn our work. So we want to chain 1, because that'll show we're going up a row, and then we'll turn our work, turn it around. You want to make sure you turn your work the same direction every time, and that'll make your edges look a little neater. So now we've got that chain right there. I don't want to work in that chain, I want to work in the stitch. So I'm going to jump into the stitch right here, just like that, and do more single crochet. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through. So what we're wanting to do this round is we're going to do 16 gray instead of 17. Whoops. I got a piece of paper next to me to double check with my pattern so I know which direction I'm going. There we go. And again, each stitch are those sets of V's. That right there is 1 stitch, that other V is another stitch. So we would go under the V, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I've got 1 more stitch, but that's where I want to change into the red, is right here. So we'll go in, yarn over, pull up, and I want to drop my gray kind of back here, because this side is going to be the back. That's the front, this will be the back. That's where we're gonna, the back is where it's gonna look the messiest. So make sure that you've got not the tail of the red, but the other piece. We'll pull that up and use the red to yarn over and pull through so we can start our red stitches. So I've got red now, and I'm gonna do 3 stitches of red. So that first stitch is gonna go into that last bit of gray, 1, and then 1 in the red, 2, and then one more. Now, the gray that I left behind is all the way over here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring that over. I'm gonna put my hook under that gray before I go into the stitch. And I'm gonna grab my red. Now when I pull up, this gray that was on my hook is gonna be right here. So kind of towards the front there. And then I'm going to yarn over, whoops, not the red. I don't want to yarn over with the red. The red I want to drop back here on the back, and I will hold on to the gray and yarn over, pull through these with the gray. So I've got my 3 red stitches, and then I'm back on gray. And like I said, this is the back, so you want to make sure that you drop the red on the back. And then we'll go back into the rest of our single crochets. Maybe. Make sure you keep that red just kind of there, but out of the way. And there's my stitch. Yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through both. Okay? So then we should have 16 more stitches of gray. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 'I'm grabbing something else with that, aren't I? Oh, I didn't go all the way into that stitch. There we go. There we go. So I want to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gotta pull out more gray. Ten, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and can't forget that last stitch, number 16 right here. Yarn over, pull through both. There we go. See, we've already got 2 rows. So again, we're going to chain 1. And like I said before, you want to turn your work the same direction you turned it before. And again, we've got that chain right there. We don't want to work in that. We want to work in the stitch. So I'm going to go right into the stitch here. And we're going to do 15 gray. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and number 15 right here, 15. But like I said, like we did before, rather than finishing the last stitch with gray, I'm going to drop it behind because now this is the front facing us and the back is behind. I'm going to grab the red and finish this stitch using the red. And then we're going to do 5 red. So 1, whoops, that one's a little tight there. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to go into that stitch. I'm going to bring the gray back up. Just kind of put it over top of my hook here, over top of the row. Grab the red and pull up, and then I'll drop the red on the back. And using the gray, finish that 5th stitch. And then I'll keep doing gray until the end, and that should be another 15 stitches. Pull out more gray. There we go. Now that I got my yarn untangled, okay, and I've got one more stitch right there. And the importance of when you're doing a flat piece like that, like this one, it is very important to keep count of all your stitches, because you might not notice it at first if you drop one on the side, but later on you'll definitely notice and go, oops. So we should have 15 more gray stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And see, it's still a little twisty, but it'll straighten out. You can kind of see already we're on what, the 3rd stitch or 3rd row. You can already see how nice and neat the front looks versus the back. So you'll always want to make sure that when you're changing colors, you'll drop the previous color on the back. So we'll go back over here, put my yarn back on. And again, we're going to chain 1 and turn and work not in the chain, but in the stitch right here. I'm going to change things up just a little bit. We're going to do 14 gray stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14, and that's where we're going to change to red. So we're going to go in, yarn over, pull up, make sure we drop our gray behind here on the back, just like that. We're going to pick up our red, yarn over, pull through the rest, and sometimes if your stitch is a little loose, you can just pull on the color. And now we're going to do 6 red instead. We're going to fill this out just a little bit. Just a little more. 1, 2, 3. And what I'm going to do right now and then to kind of help keep this from pulling tight when we pull our gray back up on the back like this, I'm just going to pull our gray up and just kind of keep it on top. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up, and yarn over, pull through. So what it's doing is it's just kind of holding in place right there. Once we've got more red going over here, I'm going to do that now and then just so that it doesn't just stretch across and then get pulled real tight, because we don't want it to be pulled real tight. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4 red. I've got 2 more. 1 and 2. I'm going to do that again with the gray, kind of on my hook. If I can get into that red stitch there. There we go. Yarn over, pull up. I'm going to grab the gray and drop the red, because we're on the back side, so we want to drop it in front of us here. And yarn over, pull through. And then we should still have 15 stitches to go over here. Make sure we get into that all of that last stitch. There we go. I'm going to go back and count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep, that's what we're looking for. Okay. And then again, we're going to chain 1, yarn over, pull through, turn our work the same direction we've been turning. And now we're going to do 14 stitches here. Let me mark off where I'm at on my little tracker sheet. So now we're going to do 14 stitches of gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Then we're going to switch back to our red. And now we should be doing 8 stitches of red. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and last one, we're gonna go in, bring the gray over, pull up the red, drop the red, grab the gray, pull it through. Now, like I said before, we don't want this pulling too tight. I'm gonna loosen that a little bit, because if we keep pulling that too tight, our piece is gonna start curving. We don't want that. And then we should have 13 gray stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whoops, that's a tight stitch right there. 13, there we go. And 13, okay. Marking off that I just did that row. We're gonna chain 1, turn our work, and we should have 12 gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna pull out some more. There we go. 9, 10, 11, 12. We want to drop the gray into the front here and pick up the red. There we go. And then we should do 10 red stitches. So there's, oops, 1 right here. 2, 3. I'm going to do that thing I did before with the gray, just to kind of work it into this stitch here. 4. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4. 5, 6, 7. I'm going to do that again with the gray. Work it into the stitch. 8, 9, and 1 more red, but we're switching to gray. There we go. There we go. I want the gray, not the red. 10. Okay. And we should have 13 gray stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Oops, what is this doing? There we go. Want it in this stitch, not the same stitch. There we go, 13. So now you'll notice switching back and forth, your yarn gets a little tangled, so take some time as often as you need to unwind your yarn. Once it starts getting a little too tangled, makes things a little difficult. Okay. And now we're going to do, and so as you're noticing, we're dropping a gray stitch on each side so that we add 2 red stitches, 1 on each side to make it longer. So we just did 13 here. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then do 12. Oops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, switching to red, there we go. I'm going to tighten up my gray a little bit. I'm actually going to do a couple more stitches with the gray worked into, well, worked under the stitch. Just, whoops, don't want the gray. There we go, just like that. Just to kind of help carry it along the back. But we should be doing 12 red, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, I'm going to undo that 9th stitch and I'm going to work that gray into it. I'm going to bring that gray around. See, so that gray is kind of in the stitch, so that was 9, 10, 11, and then 1 more gray. Oops. Or one more red, switching to gray. There we go, 12. So you should have 12 red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ta-da, it's starting to take a heart shape. And then the rest are gray, which should be 12 stitches. Or I'm sorry, probably 11 stitches. Oops, not there. I want to go here. There we go. So I'm going to go back and double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, 11 stitches, kind of what I thought. And so we're going to repeat this row 2 more times. So 11, 12, and 12, and then 12, 12, 11. Because we kind of go back and forth. So chain 1, turn the work, do 11 stitches. This is gonna give our heart a little bit of height. Now my next stitch, this one right here, should be stitch number 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, next one's 11. So I'm going to be switching to red in this stitch. And 12 red. Now and then working the gray into it. You'll see how when I do it like that, it kind of goes in the stitch, but you don't see it on the other side. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's something I've learned over the years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got one more red in which I'm switching to gray, so I'm going to pull gray up as well. And then 12 stitches. Oops, grabbed a little something extra I shouldn't have there. There we go. And one more. And even though I'm pretty sure I've got the right number, I'm going to go back and count because doing flat pieces, counting your stitches is very important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got one more repeat, so I'm going to chain 1, turn over, and keep going. So this side is 12, 12, then 11. Now, if you're curious why you have to chain 1 every time you start a new round, or you start a new row, is because every time you start a new row, you want to work in the second stitch from your hook. So if you were to do that without chaining, your work would start curving this way, slowly but surely. Whereas chain 1, turn, and then working in the stitches, it looks nice and neat. think at the end of this row, we'll compare it to our coffee mug. There we go. Okay. Now I didn't count out loud during that whole row, so I'm going to go back and make sure I've got the right stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yep, we've done that row correct. I'm going to go ahead and mark it off. Now you'll see, because my two yarns are a little different. They're different brands, so they're not the same consistency. So you'll see, kind of looks like my heart's bulging out a little bit, but that's just because the red is a little bit thicker than the gray. So let me mark off where we're at. We just did 11 gray stitches. I'll bring my coffee mug over here so you can kind of see. So we want it to kind of wrap around the middle here. So we're about halfway done. Gonna look kind of nice, and I think the way it lines up is the heart's gonna be right in front. Just like that. And like we said, we don't want it to wrap all the way around. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so now we're going to do 11 more gray stitches, but then we're going to break up the red a little bit. Get a little more yarn pulled out here first. Okay. Like I said, 11 gray stitches. Chain 1, turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's get that corner down. There we go. There it goes, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're gonna do that and then switch to red. And now we're going to do 5 red stitches. Oops, I want to make sure I got all of my red stitched. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in this 5th one, I'm going to change to gray very briefly. So 5. Drop the red, pick up the gray, changing to gray. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll do 2 gray stitches. 1, 2, and then 5 more red. So I'll be switching back to red on that second stitch. There we go. Whoops. There we go. Three, 4, and that last one switching back to gray. And then we should have 12 more gray stitches to go. So that's just kind of starting the 2 humps of the heart. Go. Okay, and I'll go ahead and double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we've got just a couple more rows left. We've got 2 more rows, it looks like. So we're gonna chain 1 and turn the same direction we've been turning this whole time. We're going to do 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is the last row where we need, yep, let's try that again. This is the last row where we need to switch to red. So I'm gonna go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up. I'm gonna drop the gray, grab the red, yarn over, pull through, tighten that a little bit. And then we'll do 4 stitches of red. So I don't want the gray on there. There we go, 4 stitches of red. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, switching back to gray. Where'd it go? There it is. Tighten that up, and we'll do 4 stitches of gray. 1, 2, 3, and doing that again. There we go. Yep, okay, just wanted to make sure it looked like it was going right. This is stitch number 4, so I'm dropping the gray, grabbing the red, and then 4 more stitches of red. 1, 2, 3, and 4, switching back to gray. So if you want, tighten those out just a little bit, tighten that up. And here is where you could actually cut off your red, because I think we're done using that. I've already cut mine, but make sure you leave a good long tail. Okay, and then we do the rest of this row with 11 stitches of gray. I'm actually going to crochet the red into the first couple of stitches to help anchor it, and then I'll show you how to tuck your ends in later. Okay. 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7. Let's get my pen out of the way there. 8, 9, 10, and 11. Whoops. Now our last row we're just going to do entirely in gray. So we're going to chain 1, turn the same direction, and just do this whole row in gray. Now you can count as you go, or you can count when you get to the end, once you think you've gotten to the end of the row. But you'll want to make sure that you've got 35 stitches in this last row here. Oops, let's try that again. There we go. Oops. There. Okay, and I've got one more stitch right here, and then I'm going to go back and count, make sure I've got 35. There we go. Pull that up a little bit. I don't want to cut that off just yet because we've still got just a little more to do. So now we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Perfect. So you'll notice on mine that it's mostly straight on the top until you get to the heart, and then it curves up a little bit. That's just because I've been using two different brands of yarn. The brand with the red is just a little bit thicker, a little fluffier than the gray. If it was about the same consistency, then it would just be flat, but that's okay. I think it still looks cute. So now just to show you on the mug here, like we said before, it's not going to wrap all the way around the back, which is perfectly fine. It still looks nice and cute on a mug. Okay, so now we don't want to detach this because we're going to do a chained loop here to go stretch around the back, and we could put it onto a button to help secure it. So first, let's go ahead and get a button. I've got a rather large, cute button right here, and I've already got a needle with a bunch of thread. I want to put this right about the center here, the center of one side. There we go. So first I want to go in through the back, and I think what I'm going to do, let's go right about here. I've got my needle kind of double threaded here. I'm actually going to leave a good long tail, and I'll just tie it off on the end. Yeah, that looks good. Oops, I don't want to go in that way, I want to go this way. Like I said, I've got my needle kind of double threaded here, so I'm trying to keep my threads straight. Do just a few passes because I want to make sure this stays put. Let's see. Yeah, I'll do maybe one or two more. Like I said, I want to make sure this stays put and it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. All right, and then what I'll do is I'll just tie a couple of knots right here, help secure it. Oops, lost the other end. Let's get my tail out of there. Okay, now that I think I've got that nice and secure, I'm going to go ahead and trim off my thread here. I don't want to get too close, so I'll just go right about there. I'll set that aside. Okay, we've got our button attached. All right. So before we go too much further, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to hide your tails. We'll grab a different needle. We'll grab a yarn needle. Let's use this one. So my yarn needle's got a wider eye there. Let's start with this one. Put the tail of our yarn on the needle. Yeah, we'll go this way. So you see how there's each stitch has kind of this line here and then two going from it. I'm going to go under those two, but if you do it right, it won't go through to the front. You want to go just underneath. Oops. There we go. See, just underneath. We'll go under a bunch of them. Oops. You don't want to try to go through that bit of thread or that bit of yarn. want to try go underneath. One more. Okay, see how I've gone through a bunch. I'll pull it through. And then I'm actually, see how if you've done it right, you can't see it on the front side. You can see it on the back side, but that's not what we're too worried about it. And then I'm just gonna send it back through. So what this does is with yarn, it's got all these little fibers that it's made of. So if I send it back through, it's not going to come undone. The little fibers are actually going to grab each other and hold it in place. There we go, I'll go through one more. Just like that, I don't have to go through as many. So you'll see as I pull it through, it's gonna pull tight right there. And then I can trim close to my project. Okay, and we'll wanna do that with our other tails. So we've got another red one here that we need to take care of. Through just a few, and then I'll turn it around and send it back through. Through just a couple. It pulls tight right there. I think I'll tuck it under just a couple more here. And I got one more tail I want to tuck real quick, and that was our starting tail, starting gray tail. Let's go in right, yeah, let's go in right here. I'll go a few more before I decide to turn it around. There we go. And actually this one I'm not too worried about going back through. This one we can just cut off because this one's not going anywhere. Put my needle away first. And I'll cut that off right here. So already this is looking a little bit neater. Oops. There. Scissors doesn't like to cut my yarn. So now normally I think what I would do is going from here, I might crochet back around to do an even border all the way around. But I'm not too worried about that right now. Instead, I'm just gonna go down the side here. So let's grab our hook. I believe we were going this way, yep. Oops. There we go. And like I said, we're gonna go down this way. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows. I counted the rows on my sheet here. You can kind of see them, especially on a flat piece, because you've been going back and forth. Every other row is kind of indented. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. See what I mean? Every other row is indented a little bit. But what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go down a few stitches. So I'm gonna go one here. We're just gonna do, you know what, let's do slip stitch. So a slip stitch is you go in like you're gonna do a single crochet. You go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up. But instead of yarning over and pulling through, we're just gonna pull that first loop through here. A slip stitch is just a little bit smaller than a single crochet. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That would be about my halfway point. And then from here, yeah, because that's about halfway. So here I'm going to do a bunch of chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's start from 10 and go from, let's start with 10 and go from there. Pull that out some. So this line of chains is going to be our loop going around to the button. So here's where you want your coffee mug. So I want to make sure this loop will go around the back of the mug, and see 10 chains isn't enough, but you want it to go around the back, around the button, and then back to the edge here. So I'm going to do, let's see, so I've got about 10 here, right? And that went about halfway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I think I might do, let's try 14 more. So I have a total of 24 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oops, 13, and 14. I'll pull that out again. Get just a little more gray yarn out of my ball. Okay, again, I'm gonna stretch it around and back. Yeah, I think that looks all right. So I did 24 stitches. You could do a few less, you could do a few more, whatever you think might look better. We don't want it too loose because then it's not going to be a little mug cozy. We want it to be nice and snug. So now that I've done that, I can set my coffee mug back to the side. And we'll do a slip stitch into the stitch after where we left off on the side here. So our last slip stitch was right here. We're going to do one right into the next spot right here. So again, go in like we're going to do a single crochet, yarn over and pull up, and then just pull it through the other loop on our hook. And there you have it, a little loop. And we'll just do the last couple of stitches. Remember, they are slip stitches, not single crochet. Got 2 more. 1 and 2. Okay, and from there we can cut off our gray and we'll leave a nice long tail. There. Set that off to the side. And now to finish off, we'll just pull our tail through, and that actually kind of helps lock that into place. And we'll grab our yarn needle again. Oops, not that one. We'll grab our yarn needle and hide the tail like we did with the other tails. Okay. See, we want that to be about the middle, and I think I got it about the middle. For having 11 rows, that's not bad. Okay. You want to make sure that you hide your tail on the back, not on the front. Or on the back, so I'm just going to go right in here and start hiding it like we did the other tails. Okay, we'll go in just a couple more here. And then turn it around and go back through. It's gonna cinch right there and tighten up, and then we'll just cut off our tail. So it's nice and neat. And there we have it. A little Valentine heart coffee mug cozy. And I'll go ahead and stick it on this mug right here. See, you want to make sure it'll pull tight around the button. I think mine's just a little too tight, but that's okay. Oh, it was perfect. Nice, cute little coffee mug cozy for the ones you love.